in Fairfax, Virginia. Hi, great to have you on the EIB network, sir. Hello.
Thanks, Rush. It's one thing I always like about you. You're always kind of a nice guy, as wrong as you are. You started out your show today talking about the failed progressivism and Obama. And I want to know what you're thinking, man. I mean, we had 8 years of George Bush. He started out with a balanced budget. He gave us huge tax cuts. And over his 8 years, well, we had the lowest job growth of any 8-year president ever. In fact, the job growth over those 8 years was generally worse than most 4-year presidents.
Where are you reading that?
I'm not reading it. It's just a fact. But,
no, it's not a fact, which is why I'm wondering where you're reading it.
Over 8 years, 3 million jobs were created. 3.2 million.
How is it then that the unemployment rate was 4.7%? You know, we came out of this, we had a double dip thing. We had a recession and we had 9/11. And we had a huge economic rebound coming out of both of those things. And eventually we got the unemployment rate down to 4.7%. Now, how did that happen?
But I see on your diddle cam, you can Google the same things I can Google. All I know is that he was the worst job-creating president ever.
Well, Google is an arm of the government.
Tax cuts.
Google is an arm of the regime. I mean, you put in the word stupidity. The first search result's Bush.
Well,
I mean, you got to be more open-minded to this. Well, the question I asked was, for those of you, what's Obama done for you? I mean,
let's see if we can find anything we can agree on. Do you agree that Bush's term was bookended by Enron and the financial collapse of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers? That he entered office with a surplus and he left office with the first $1 trillion deficit this country's ever known?
I will stipulate that there was way too much spending in the Bush years, and but it's been dwarfed by what's happened since the Democrats took over Congress in 2007. Your bookend analogy, the Enron business, what we've got going on with the federal government right now dwarfs the corruption with Enron, for crying out loud. But that
I agree. What's going on Wall Street right now is just inexcusable, and I think Geithner and Obama have really dropped the ball in terms of putting people in jail that need to go to jail for that. Instead,
why do people in Wall Street need to go to
hosts defending their bonuses?
Why do people in Wall Street need to go to jail? Bonuses, did you say?
I said instead of putting people in jail for the crimes they committed, we've got right-wing talk show hosts defending the bonuses.
All right, you want to be contentious for no reason. Go ahead. We're trying to have a bipartisanship conversation here with you, and yet you have to be provocative here. I'm just asking you a question. Why should they go to jail? What did they do that warrants jail time?
All the phony mortgages they committed, shorting one end of a deal while selling it long to people and not disclosing their own position.
See, what we have here is we have two entirely different belief systems. See, I have a belief system oriented on where the subprime mortgage problem began, whose idea it was, and its ill-designed purpose. Yeah, you think Wall Street created the subprime mortgage and the subprime mortgage mess? I don't.
Well, I can kind of prove you wrong there too, Rush. I mean, the subprime mortgage mess wasn't created by a bunch of black people enjoying the benefits of the Community Reinvestment Act. If you look at where the foreclosures are, they're in Nevada, Arizona, and Florida. You don't see large numbers of minority populations buying $1 million homes in those.
You know, you again, you're selective here in your application of fact and history. The Community Redevelopment Act is clearly a guilty party, and it was first created by Jimmy Carter. It was expanded upon by Bill Clinton, and it was defined by no less than Barney Frank as affordable housing. We have to give people who can't afford to pay back loans. We have to give money. It's only fair. The lending institutions don't.
What the law actually says is that you can't discriminate against qualified buyers.
Right. Well, that's
black neighborhoods.
That's the sales technique. The purpose was to put people in houses who couldn't afford them. And this was done by government coercion. Janet Reno was threatening banks who would not make these loans with federal investigation and so forth. The bankers had to go out and make these loans. They had to bring these people in. And then they had to go about a creative way of trying to make what was worthless paper worth something. So they started creating all these new products called derivatives and all these insurance packages designed to help them kick the can down the road so that at some point somebody would not go totally bust implementing absolutely impossible business practices forced upon them by a left-wing government and thinking. And the subprime mess is the foundation and the root of the economic malaise that we're in today. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Now, if you want to blame this on Bush, you are more than entitled to try. But it was the Bush administration that attempted to get regulators in there to stop this. And I could play you audio soundbite of Maxine Waters and Barney Frank threatening these regulators and accusing them of all kinds of political bias and racism and everything else. It's a travesty here. And it was pure liberalism and the liberal kind of thinking that created the mess. Now, I don't think Bush did enough to stop this. The Republicans in Congress tried to stop it. They got shouted down because anybody starts calling you a racist or anybody starts telling you want to starve kids or that you want people to... It's like in Australia now, the news is Republicans kicking Big Bird to the curb with the threat of, defunding the CPB, the Corporation of Public Broadcasting. Big Bird's a freaking puppet, for crying out loud. But all of a sudden now, the children will lose Big Bird if Republicans, those mean, dirty, rotten SOBs, get their way on budget cuts and so forth. Nobody is blameless in any of this, but the fault lies in the creation of this very concept, which has its roots in liberalism, which is unworkable. Affordable housing, put people in houses they can't afford because it's discriminatory. It's not fair that people... don't see. My problem is I live in Literalville. I have a reality-based belief system, and you have a fantasy-based belief system based on whatever. I mean, you called here with a lot of animosity, a lot of contentiousness here today. I asked, what's Obama ever done? What have you gotten? And what do you do but start attacking Bush and me rather than trying to answer the question because you can't answer what Obama's done for you. It's typical.